Hi, this is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com. I'm going to try to demonstrate a trade for you here, and maybe a little bit ahead of the game here, but I did want to show you what I'm looking to do here. We've got one leg down right here. You see that leg? I measured it. If you move this over here, this puts the other leg right down here. It's basically right down here where we've had support. Actually, yesterday it was resistance. Today it's been acting as support. So I'm expecting a bounce right there. And I'm also looking at two measured legs back. So that's the measured leg. I'm actually going to, based on that move, I'm actually going to get I'm looking really for it to touch my line here where I had my support and resistance before, so I'm going to go ahead and leave it right there. I hope we don't miss the trade, but I'd rather be safe than sorry. But we will just watch this. I may even pause this a minute to keep the video from getting too long. But hopefully you see what we're looking at right there. And while I'm looking at that, because I'm looking to buy this support area right here, I'm expecting that prices will bounce here. Even if they're going to go lower, they will probably bounce here, and eventually we'll probably get a measured move. We may even get a measured move similar to this, but really basically since the market opened this morning, at least since the first 30 minutes or so, we've been in this trading range. And you can see, let me just put some lines on here to show you. We've had prices getting resistance right up in this area, and then we've been getting support down here. Go ahead and make this a little bigger so it's easier for you guys to see it. So that's why, and this not only was this support today, this was resistance yesterday, and you can see that. And generally, once prices, we've only tested that area really one time. We tested it in the overnight, but since the regular session, we've only tested it once. So I'm expecting prices to pull down here and test this area again to see if it holds, where if it does, we'll probably go higher, and if it doesn't hold, then we'll probably go lower. But either way, I think we'll get a bounce based on these two measured legs and the fact that this has been strong resistance that's now turning into support. So let's just watch it and see what happens. And but hopefully you understand now why I'm looking to trade here. And I may pause this a minute just to see what happens and come back in a moment. Okay, I did pause this for a few minutes, but I'm going to show you something else, and then I may pause it again. But as you can see, this line across this, right across this area right here, you can see that has been a fairly strong support area right there. So you could have even bought one tick above that line, which would have been 12.10, and you'd already be out with a full scalp right there. So it would have worked off this line, but I thought this is the stronger support, or has been, and the form of resistance. So I was more apt to buy down here than to buy right here blindly for that reason. I may regret that I didn't buy here again. If I had taken that trade, I'd already been able to scalp a point with my 10 contracts right there. But I'm going to try to catch a low and then try to get runners. And a lot of times what will happen on these strong support areas is prices will break on through and then trap everybody, then reverse. So that was another reason I like this area right here. And if we catch the trap, not only do we catch a reversal, we catch an extended move. Okay, I'm going to pick this back up. Prices are trying to head lower. One thing I really like here is I like this area of congestion right here. If we break out of here, the odds are very strong that they'll pull back up into this area again. So I just don't know if prices will make it down here to fill our order or not. But if we do break lower below this double bottom here, I feel pretty good that prices will attempt to pull back up into this again. And So we should get a bounce soon after breaking through here. So that's some more reasons to like this trade. We'll see what happens. Prices are continuing to take their time to move slow. You can see there's not much, just not a lot going on. The closer we get to the holidays, the lower the volume's going to be and the slower the market's going to get. And you can see there's just not much. I mean, the prices are barely even ticking here. There's just not much going on right now, and I'm probably going to continue to trade through this week and probably take most, if not all, of the rest of the year off. I may come in and do a little work, or maybe even trade, or just do some videos or check on things during the holidays. But here we go. We're trying to move again. We'll see what happens here. Maybe we can get filled on this trade. Again, I'm looking for a measured move that's equal to this first two legs, which is on a bigger picture is one leg down. And if you measure that, there it is, and you slide it over here. Well, there it is again, just right down here where our line is. And this line, okay, well, we're getting real close. I'm going to bring this back in, and I'm going to narrow this in where you can see it a little better, just to make it nice and clear. But all this line is, this is the measurement of this area right here to right here. So if we get a measured move, we're headed to right down here, about where our order is. So we've got that going for us. We've got the support area going for us, and we're just a tick or so away from getting filled here. I'm going to get this line out of the way, and hopefully we don't bounce early, and maybe we'll get filled. Sometimes we miss these by a tick or a couple of ticks, and it always makes me mad when I do, but better to be safe than to be sorry. So we'll wait patiently and see if we get filled here. And if we don't, we won't force the trade. We're going to wait on it to come to us. And you could have actually traded this on the way down as well. But, I don't like selling at a strong support area, so we're looking to buy down in this area. We were looking to sell up here in this area, and now we're looking to buy down here in this area. And you can see how that congestion area is like a magnet. Once prices broke out, it's pulling prices back to test it again, and we may or may not get filled on this trade. As slow as this market is, it wouldn't surprise me if we don't get filled. We're quickly running out of time here, so if we don't get filled fairly soon, I'm going to have to pull this trade because we're getting close to 2 o'clock. And I might give it to a few minutes past 2, because definitely if we get very close to 2:30, I will pull this trade and call it a day. There we go. Prices are trying to work on down here to our order. Selling going on there. I see the ticks moving pretty quickly over here now. There we go. All right, we're filled. We did get filled right there. And we got filled without prices ticking through, and you don't always get that lucky, but we did today. Generally, that's a sign that prices are going to move on down. Generally, if you get filled without prices ticking through, then it's just a matter of a few minutes, a few seconds to a minute that prices are going to tick on through there. What we've had going for us was we had our order in the queue very early, because my order's been sitting down there for 30 or 45 minutes, so I was probably early in the queue. So I was one of the first ones to get filled when prices did touch that level. And like I said, and that's why I like using the strategies too, because it throws my stop and my profit targets in there very quickly, and it gets you early in the queue as well, because those people that are putting their orders in there manually are struggling to get all their orders in once they're filled, where ours go in just a blink of an eye and so we get ahead of a lot of the manual traders, people that put their orders in manually. So it's another reason I like to use the strategies, especially when scalping. And you would think that, fighting for a tick or so is not that big a deal, but when you're scalping, when you're a scalper and most of your trade is based off scalps, then 4 ticks, that extra tick can make or break you a lot of times without taking, because we're using very small stops. So that extra tick can make a difference when you're trying to scalp, when you're a precision scalper like what we're trying to do. So keep that in mind. This video is getting on towards 10 minutes. I may pause it again. If we don't bounce here pretty quickly, I may pause it. And we could go a little lower because the support, the last closing price was another tick down here. So we could actually go another tick lower or so. Wouldn't surprise me. But I think I'm going to pause this just a minute, and as prices start to bounce, if and when prices start to bounce, I'll pick it back up. Okay, you can see prices are bouncing here. I didn't pause it, but just about 2 seconds there, and it started bouncing. So we'll see if we can get out of this trade fairly quickly. And we do have a measured move in place. I'll show you that again while we're just kind of waiting. Remember, this was the first. I realize that's 2 legs there, but that in a bigger picture, that's a single leg. And if you measure this next move, you can see prices closed right at that point. We did go a tick lower, but they closed right at that point, and that's usually a good sign. So prices could not close down there on that low, so at least they haven't yet. So we'll continue to watch this, and I may pause it again. And you can see we do have a hard 2-point stop here. That's all I'm willing to give this is a hard 2-point. I always start with a hard 2-point stop, and then I'll adjust that as necessary. And you could go ahead and tighten this, but I'm not going to do that at this point. I'm going to wait and see what happens here. And it just continues to move very slowly. There's just not a lot of volume. Here we go. We need a couple more ticks. All right, we're bouncing off our exit order. See if we can get lucky enough to get out of this without ticking through as well. And there we are. We did. We're out. I'm going to go ahead and move my stop to break even. Well, it moved on its own before I could actually click on it there. And we'll try to get, tell you what, I want to try to get 2 points off this runner. If we make 2 points, we'll make approximately $700 off this trade. Now, just so you understand what we did here, we scalped out 1 point on 8 contracts, and that automatically put $400 in our bank. They're probably going to get our runner here, maybe not. And if we get 2 points out of the runners, we'll add another $300 to our trade here. And if we get up here around the EMA or this high here and we struggle, I may go ahead and take my profits, and I may tighten my stop as we go as well. Hopefully you understand why we did what we did right there. That's been a strong support area. And this is how you trade range days. You buy the support and you sell the resistance. And I don't always recommend that people buy naked down here like I'm doing. But I've been doing this long enough. What I usually teach my students is to wait on a bullish bar and then buy above that, or wait on a second entry and then try to enter on that second entry. And this is actually a form of a second entry right here. As you see, we had a new high right there. So the count started over. There's your first entry, and then there's your second entry, and we're still headed higher. This is looking really good here. This is exactly what I expected to happen. As slow as this has already been a fairly decent bounce. Again, we had this break below a double bottom here, a double bottom there, and then we also had support here. So we had a lot of reasons to be thinking long right there. You can see we are getting resistance at the EMA, right where you would expect it. We we could close this right now for 2 points on the runner, but I'd like to get 3 points if we can muster it up here. I don't know if we're going to be able to muster that up or not. Without it pulling back first. But this is the type of area where you want to try to hold your runners to try to catch multiple points. Because prices are likely to come back and test the high now after coming off this low if we're going to stay in the trading range. We're probably going to see quite a bit quite a bit of this rangy, choppy type stuff the closer as we get to the holidays. So this was the main reason I wanted to demonstrate another one of these trades today and how I generally trade them. And it's looking like we're going to probably get stopped out on this. Let's just see if we can get our 2 points. We probably should have taken our 2 points. We still got a lot of overlap now because we got this bar and these 2 bars are definitely going to be overlapping right in here where we had these others. This is looking like it's trying to turn into a breakout pullback, but they'll do that, and if they can't take it lower here, then we'll probably go higher. So we'll just leave our stop at 1 break even plus 1. The worst we'll do is we'll make another 2 ticks here on these last 2 contracts. Let's just do this. Let's just try to get a point on these 2 where it takes out our stop. And we'll make a cool 500. Okay, there we are. We ticked higher, so we got a cool $500 out of that trade. I'll be mad at myself if prices go higher, which I have a good feeling they will. But I'm thinking we're probably going to pull back here and at least come back and test this area right in here again before we go higher. So, but anyway, that was a quick $500, and you see it took the actual trade. It was more waiting than anything. The actual trade probably didn't take but about 4 or 5 minutes, and it didn't have to take that long. We could have actually been out with 2 points on those runners fairly easy, and that's usually a good profit target to try to reach is 2 points. A lot of times you'll see me go for 3 or more, but that's why I like to use the runners is to, in case we get one, and this one's not taking off. Like, you know, my guess is prices are going to end up coming back up this direction. Of course, I don't know that, but that's what I'm figuring. But we're going to get some overlap, and it's getting late in the day. So I just took my $500. That was easy $500. It only takes a couple of those every day to be making $1,000 a day or more. And you just, you know, I like to make it clear that you don't have to take a lot of trades during the day. Just find the best, 2 to 3 trades, and rather than making more trades, just increase your leverage. Of course, don't over leverage your account. You got to build into this. You can't, unless you've got a big account, you can't trade 10 contracts right out of the gate. And if you're not a seasoned, profitable trader, I don't recommend that you trade 10 contracts either. But what you want to be doing is working towards the ability to do that so that you only have to take a couple of high probability trades every day without, just like the one I just took here. And if you can find a couple of those, you're in and out quickly and you make your money, and you don't have to sit around and search for trades or sit around and keep entering and exiting, getting chopped up and so forth. This has just been a poor, choppy trading day, and you can see really not much volume, not much movement. But the fact that we've got from about 1208.50 to 1216 or so here, that's a good 8-point range. You can make money in an 8-point range. You can make a good money in an 8-point range. So keep that in mind, but I'm going to wrap this up. This is a 20-minute video, so it's getting on out there. But hopefully you enjoyed this trade example today of how you can make a quick profit just scalping, doing nothing but waiting on prices to reach support and resistance when we're in those trading ranges. But this is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we will see you next time.